Okay, everybody, it looks like we have everybody on the line now, so I want to go ahead and get into a brief demo, and then we can open it up for some question and answer afterwards if that works for everyone. So what I want to start by doing is just showing you this view that you see here. This is what we call the drawer. This is basically an access point. You'll see at the top, my name is Advisor Robin Williams in this demo, just FYI. That gear icon, or by tapping on my name, I can access my general account settings. Nothing too hefty to show you here, just a kind of access point is all I want to demonstrate there. Beneath that, you notice there's a section called tasks. I'm going to show you that a little bit later. This is basically a screen though, or the access point to a list of tasks or reminders, to-do items that have been assigned to me by classmates, by an academic advisor, maybe by a professor, that I'm now accountable for and need to follow up on. Again, just a note there that this is where you'll access those. I'll show you how you create those and walk you through some case studies in a moment. Next up is recents. These in Econ 101, marketing strategy, and so forth. These right here are basically categories of groups. In each one of these is an expandable cluster of different groups. You'll notice here they're all organized based off of the course I'm in. So if I'm in an econ course, right here you notice all of my group conversations that are relevant or tied to that econ course are categorized under this umbrella. If I want to look at the groups that are part of my marketing strategy course, I tap on that. And you'll notice we've done some color coordination here as well. We've done a lot of testing with users to determine what's the best way to allow a student to consume a whole lot of information and be involved in a whole lot of different groups, while having that be something that they can actually, that's truly usable. Once you start getting into 50, 100 groups, not that every student's in that sort of use case, but some are. And this makes it a little bit easier to navigate. So I'm going to show you here really quickly. I'm just going to dive into, let's say, my recents section here. I'm going to go to the classroom chat. Okay, you'll notice above the title of this, it says Econ 101. This just gives me, in case I have two different groups that I'm in that are titled the same, you'll see that with groups like study group or things of that nature. We add a tag to the title there to help you understand which course this one's tied to. So I'm in my Econ 101 course in the classroom chat. And this group is, for demonstration purposes, assume that this has the entire class in this group. So I can scroll through here. It's an interface that you're likely very familiar with. It's a chronological stream of real-time messages. So I can come in here and say, hey everyone, and they're all going to receive a push notification. You'll notice some avatars that kind of bounce around here. These tiny avatars that are off to the right, these are read receipts. So you notice that one of these just moved. That's Pete Johnson. That means that he saw my message. So again, if you're familiar with an app like Facebook Messenger, likely you are, it's a very similar type of experience here. We find that professors really love this functionality because in their classroom today, one of their biggest issues that they're fighting is they're trying to get messages out to students, and they're having a really difficult time ensuring, number one, whether or not a student even saw a message, and if they did, and if some did, who saw it. So they may be sending reminders out about an assignment or a variety of different things happening in the classroom. But when they're doing that through email, they're finding that millennials are increasingly difficult to reach via email. If you're seated next to a millennial or you are a millennial, there's a decent chance that if you look at their phone, take a look at their mail app icon, their email app icon, the number of unreads is probably in the thousands. This is just sort of like an example of why this can be really challenging for schools to get in touch with students via email. Sadly, probably the second most common means that we see of schools trying to get a hold of students is direct mail still, which is sort of shocking. So very, very simple interface there. If I tap on this message, I can react to it. It's something we sort of got inspiration from Slack on. We've consolidated it to just 5 reaction types here. If I long press on this, I can see who reacted in what way. From here, let me pause for a moment and direct your attention to the bottom of this screen here in the message field. You'll notice a handful of icons. We have 5 icons here. We call this our toolbar. Let me walk you through each one of these very, very briefly. I'll spend a little bit more time on one of them than the other 4. So I'm going to start with the camera here. There's nothing too tricky to show you here, very expected behavior. I can take a photo here within the app, or I can choose a photo from my library. This is obviously not just photos, it's photos and videos, but this will sync with your camera roll on your device and enable you to upload photos. If I go to the settings here in the upper right, you'll notice that we save all the photos and videos that are added to a particular group, and I can access those down here in the bottom of this settings screen. Second thing here is tasks. I mentioned earlier I would come back to this. So if I tap on this check mark icon, I can create a task. This gives me the opportunity to create a reminder, a to-do item for a classmate or something like that. Or if I'm an advisor, maybe there are certain specific follow-up items after a session with a student that I want them to take care of and sort of report back to me on. This gives me that sort of opportunity. The most common use case we see among students is them basically divvying work out on a group project or an assignment or something like that. So let me just show you how that might work. So let's say that my job on a presentation that we're doing in the classroom was to create the outline of the PowerPoint that we'll be using when we present. And now I'm going to pass that PowerPoint on to somebody else to pretty it up, put some design to it, something like that. So I'm going to call this finish PowerPoint. I'm going to change the due date to, let's say, Monday. And instead of assigning it to the entire group, which I can do if I want to, I'm going to assign it to a person. So let me find Pete. I'll assign this to Pete. And I want to remind him Monday morning. In fact, maybe I'll remind him Sunday evening just to make sure that he's got as much advance notice as possible. And then if I want to, I can come in here and I can actually add the deck that I created to this task so that Pete can download it and take it from whatever point I got it to the finish line as he adds what he needs to add. So this is kind of a cool capability. I'll hit choose from files, and I can come in here and I can pull files from iCloud, from Google Drive, from Dropbox, essentially any cloud storage repository that I have an app on my phone for. I can pull those files from and dump into Pronto. I'm not going to do that here, but I can add this, and at that point Pete receives a notification that says that Zach, or in this case advisor Robin, created a task for him to finish the PowerPoint. Now the nice thing is I'm not on the hook anymore for having to remind him or follow up with him on that. Pronto will instead send him push notifications not only at the reminder date and time that I set just a moment ago, but during the day that this, or within 24 hours of the due date of this task, he will receive silent push notifications just reminding him that the due date and time is quickly approaching. I'm going to skip the middle button here, this circle button, and come back to it in a moment and move on to the files button. So like I mentioned before, I can sync with my cloud storage repositories, kind of a nice way for me to pull files, especially if I'm a Mac user. I can pull them right off of my desktop if I'm an iCloud user. And then when I dump these files into this group, I'm going to go to the settings and show you what that looks like. So if I toggle down here at the bottom from photos and videos to files, the nice thing here is you'll notice that I've got a handful of files here that have been shared to this group. We store these inside of the group settings. We do it in chronological order so that students have a digital paper trail of all the activity in this group from start to finish. They can now access any of these files. They can save them to their device. They can save them to the cloud, and it's a nice way for students to share files and not have to dump them into a variety of different emails. There's one source for all this information, and they know where they can quickly find and retrieve that information. It's very convenient. We don't currently impose any ridiculous storage limits or anything like that. We found that so far the storage requirements have been pretty easy for us to manage, let's say, given our current revenue model. So next, let's move on to GIFs. We have a nice Giphy integration. I can search, or I can just scroll through here and add a GIF if I want to. I'll go ahead and throw that in here. And honestly, the primary reason for us adding this, the fact that we, on both our corporate side of our business and our education side of our business, deal with largely the same type of user. It's by and large a millennial type of user, and we need to kind of go where they are and create an experience that's interesting to them. And what we're finding more and more often, especially in the ed tech space, is a lot of these solutions for communication are very stodgy, and they feel antiquated, and that has a really major impact on adoption. I may talk it briefly at the end of this about our adoption and our engagement metrics, but they've been quite impressive. We attribute that to the fact that we built something that's a little bit more youthful, a little bit more friendly to that crowd. Okay, so the last thing that I'd like to show you is the video conferencing button. That's this round button in the bottom middle of this toolbar that I referenced earlier. So let me show you how this works. If I tap on this, it's going to count down from 5 all the way down to 0. And at that point, every member of the group that I'm in just received a push notification indicating that Zach is live, or I'm sorry, Advisor Robin is live, since that's who I'm posing as in this demo. If I come up here to the top, you'll notice that I can see who's watching. I can see that I'm the one that's streaming. As people join this video conference, their names will be populated in that view. And the nice thing is unlike Zoom or GoToWebinar or whatever video conferencing solution I may be using, Pronto doesn't require an access code, a meeting ID, additional software outside of Pronto or plugins or things like that to be able to use. Instead, these individuals in this group receive a push notification, they tap on it, and they're now in the conference. So you can see here that Porter just joined. Hey Porter, how are you? And as I tap on his avatar, he's live with me. I can tap on Pete. Hey Pete. And Pete's in the conference as well. I can toggle back to myself. And the neat thing here is we enable up to 10 people to be streaming video and audio simultaneously. You don't have to be streaming video though to participate in the conference. So you'll notice there that Porter and Pete, they were messaging here via text as well. They can do that throughout the duration of this video conference just by being in the group. And so I can stream to hundreds, if not thousands of people who are just watching while I'm the one that's actually streaming, and up to 9 others are streaming as well. So one other thing I'll show you very quickly is we can record this as well. We provide 2 different options. The first is recording yourself. This records locally in HD quality, and then I can upload the video after the fact. Or I can record everyone, and this gives me the opportunity to record everyone else. And we put together a group video archive. So that would show you a replay of myself, Pete, and Porter, since we're the 3 that were on this video. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the video conference. Thanks, guys. And as I end that out and I'm back in the group, you'll notice that the messages that were sent during that video conference are preserved in my chat here. And I've got this little asset here telling me that the live stream ended. It lasted 2 minutes and 24 seconds, and those are the three avatars of the three participants in this video conference. Now, last thing to show you, I'm going to slide over to this drawer. This is where we started, and I want to wrap up with just driving home one key detail that I think is really important. When a user, I'll talk about students. When a student enrolls in a course at a school, that student is automatically added to the groups that he or she should be participating in within Pronto. There is no manual, hey, can you add Becky, can you add Trevor? They're added the moment they're added to the course within Canvas, within Blackboard, and we sync with those LMSs in real time. So we have more than just an LTI integration with both of these platforms. We also have some pretty in-depth API integrations that allow us to sync student rosters in real time. And so if a student adds a course, again, they're added to the appropriate groups they should be a part of. If they drop a course, they're removed from those groups automatically as well. There's no manual updating of tens of thousands of students on a given campus. This all happens in the background without the school's administration having to assign somebody to managing a basically impossible amount of work. So in this case, I'm somebody who's enrolled in the Econ 101 and marketing strategy courses. It looks like the school's added me to some student success groups as well, which is something that the school administration can do. These are just some examples of how that might work. I believe from here, that's probably all I ought to talk about relative to the product, unless you have any questions. If you do, why don't I just stop there and you can chime in with any additional questions that you have.